I'm Blair, and I play guitar for Rise Against.
Thank you so much for joining me here at Carolina. God, we are looking forward to your set tonight. You guys put on one hell of an amazing show every time. I mean, absolutely.
Awesome.
So, what are you guys most looking forward to with the festival? What can we expect from the set tonight?
I think we're most looking forward to seeing Cheap Trick, who are playing pretty soon. Sammy Hagar's playing. It's really cool because it's not just contemporary rock and roll bands. It's sort of like the full spectrum of classic rock and metal and hard rock and everything. So it's pretty interesting. We're doing a bunch of these types of festivals lately, and this one's kind of standing out. The diversity.
That's what I was going to say. I love so much, like, you get such a diverse array of artists that come together at these things just to, promote the voice of music, which I think is so interesting.
Sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's a lot of bands that all kind of sound the same, and that's not very interesting either. As a spectator, as somebody that's coming to it and coming to see it, you're just like, oh, this band sounds like everybody else. So it's really cool to have some diversity. Yeah.
I mean, this is the perfect way to kind of kick off the headline tour that you guys are hanging out on this summer.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty busy. We go straight from Europe we have a few days off, and then we go right into the U.S. tour. Yeah, should be really fun.
So, how happy are you with the continued feedback that the black market has been? I mean, it came out last July, was it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's doing good. It has legs. It's anytime you make a record, all you want is for people to not even so much buy it, because who really buys music anymore, which is a shame, but just to talk about it, or hear it, however they're going to hear it, whether they're streaming it or they're Spotify or they bought it on iTunes or bought the vinyl. However they're consuming it, that's really all you want, because you can't judge things in record sales anymore, and it was really kind of short-sighted to judge things in record sales before. All you really wanted was people just to basically listen to your music and come see you live. That's all our band's ever been based on, and it seems like that's happening. So it's good.
Absolutely. Do you think that there's more pressure now for bands to stay on the road longer? I feel like it's been like a flip. I mean, it used to be the album promotes the tour, now the tour promotes the album.
That's interesting. That's exactly the point I've always made. Now you are making a record to basically promote your tour, where, yeah, you're right, before you used to tour to promote this thing you worked on to do. Now a record is just another piece of merchandise, basically. You're selling it at your merch booth along with your t-shirts and whatever else it is that you might be selling. So that's an interesting thing to see. It's an interesting thing to live through, and it's an interesting thing to live through as a professional musician, that this thing that you used to labor on and take months to make is now this thing that's basically given no value at all. And I don't even mean monetary value. I mean it's almost like the idealism is, oh, you made a record, what else you got? Like, aren't you recording it? Why don't you have new songs? Like, we just put out a record, But that's how, you can make records in your bedroom nowadays, and that's how music is getting made. And I would sound like an old fart to think that, to not try to change with the times and understand that that's how things are happening. But it is interesting. It is interesting to see such a seismic shift. Nobody else's careers, it would be like if practicing law was done in a completely different venue and spectrum, and it happens seemingly overnight, so it's interesting. Does
it change your approach at all? Like, when you go in to record even new material, you think, okay, maybe we should do an EP, or maybe we should do,
Not our band, and that's not to say that we won't in the future, but we always just kind of record everything we have at the moment. Okay. And for Record Store Day, we just put out a 7-inch that had an extra song. We did record some B-sides for the black market. We just recorded everything, and then really the only reason songs didn't make it to the record was because we didn't want to make a long record. People aren't listening to records from side A or side B, so we're like, we kind of wanted to do an 11-song record, and so there was just songs that didn't fit. But we're not doing that yet. We're kind of old-fashioned in the way of make a record from start to finish and put that out and go tour that. Whereas some bands are make an EP, tour for 6 months, make another EP, tour, which I don't think there's anything wrong with any of it. As long as you're working and you're playing, who cares how you're doing it, really.
I'm so happy to hear artists putting stuff out on vinyl again, because I'm happy to see this resurgence. I love that perfectly imperfect sound of vinyl. I'm so happy it's coming back.
It's crazy how quickly that came back as well, and that was such a sort of defunct medium. It was like the 8-track or the cassette, and now lo and behold,
don't want that to come back.
Yeah, right. But lo and behold, here's vinyl again, and people are putting a lot of time and effort into vinyl, a lot of packaging and 180 gram, and it's an expensive thing to do, and pretty awesome. Yeah, yeah.
So on a personal level, I look at music as a universal language, so we can all speak and understand. For you personally, when did it start speaking to you?
My father was a radio DJ, so that's what he did for a living, and so he was always bringing home, like a classic rock radio DJ. So he was always bringing home albums and stuff. It would be like if your dad was a baker and he brought home, all the sort of day-old bread and stuff. So my dad was just bringing home vinyl. He was just bringing home 7 inches, because at that point, that's when they would just play singles. This is in the 70s. And so he had this huge record collection. So from my family, because he was a professional radio DJ, we didn't have much money. So there was times when we didn't even have a TV set. My dad would have to hawk it and stuff. But we always had a record player. And so I remember, there's not a time in my life when I don't remember there being like a Black Sabbath record playing, or Jimi Hendrix, or The Who, or Led Zeppelin, or whatever. So it's been something I knew I wanted to do since I was little. It's all I ever wanted to do, and all I ever gave myself a chance to do. I didn't go to college. I didn't give myself anything to fall back on, which was, looking back, not the smartest thing to do, and I don't recommend it. But if I gave myself something to fall back on, I would have fallen back on it, So it was sort of make or break. Yeah. So I'm glad it worked out. But yeah, there was times when I was kind of like,
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, exactly.
What I love so much about Rise Against music is that it always makes people think. And I find that so much of the cookie cutter music out there, it just doesn't have anything to say that's worth, how important is that message going forward? Because I think a lot of it is left open to interpretation also.
Well, I think with this band, it kind of came up with certain political punk rock bands, or bands that were really just trying to say something that meant something to them, like Minor Threat or the Dead Kennedys, or even a band like the Descendants, who wrote love songs. They were talking about their feelings and their, what was going on inside them as, teenagers, just where everything is just crashing down on you all at once. And so I think it just went hand in hand, to get on stage with a guitar and play loud music. Though there needed to be a message. You needed to be talking about something that meant something to you, not just some ideal of partying or getting laid or whatever. So it never. They were one and the same with everyone in this band. Tim McElrath, who's our singer, lyricist, songwriter. There's not one without the other. There's not just playing music and singing lyrics that don't mean anything to you. I don't think that guy could actually do that. There's just no way. And to each his own. There's a lot of people that have microphones in their face, or people listening to them, and they're talking about, whatever the hell it is they wanted to talk about. But this band, no matter how big it got or how small it was always going to say something about something it believed in, and use that sort of ear to talk, to express. Whether that was 3 people or 30,000 people, So I think it's intrinsic to just who the band is, and I don't think there's a Rise Against without being able to say something that maybe isn't something that everybody wants to hear,
Is it ever hard to come out of the mindset?
Yeah, I think the misconception is that our band doesn't have much of a sense of humor, or our band isn't or our band is, looks down our nose at people that maybe eat meat or drink or do whatever it is, and we're just a bunch of, we're not fun or whatever, which is a complete misconception. We're just average guys. We just, we have our beliefs and our things that we like to talk about. And if you're listening, cool. And if you're not, it's totally up to you. It's still entertainment. It's still a show. We're still jumping around. We're still playing loud music. You don't, have to buy into the message or the things we're talking about just to be a Rise Against fan. You don't have to, and but to come out of the mindset, no, because it is who we are, you know what I mean? And we've been riding that balance ever since, you know what I mean? So it's, if it was some character we sort of, get your game face on, then it would probably be a little bit harder, but it's not, it's just who we are.
Oh, yeah, I've heard like a lot of artists say, they're up there on stage and they, they write the song and they're feeling a certain way and then they're replaying the same thing like every night. They're like,
that gets hard. And, it becomes muscle memory at a certain point and it's kind of a drag. And that's when you actually start making mistakes, is when you're not thinking about what's coming next, oh, geez, So, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much for taking a few minutes. Yeah, no problem. Are you guys working on any new material at all?
No. We have
still plenty of time.
Yeah, we have a lot of touring coming up. The rest of the year is pretty busy, and then I believe next year we'll probably start working on newer stuff and take some time off and try to do that. So, yeah. But we'll be touring a lot between now and the end of the year. So.
See, you guys are all over the place.
Trust me, I know. Yeah, cool. Yeah, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Take care.